Volusia County, do you want this to be you? Do you want to be silenced by people who believe they are gods? This man, Ed Kelley, believes he is a god. Do you want to allow Ed Kelley to silence you? Obviously, as we can see in this picture, Ed Kelley does not like signs. So, Ed Kelley has done an end run around the rules, and I cannot confirm this. I will state this, that I have not heard it directly from her, but I have heard this from multiple sources, some sources that I consider very, very valuable, and that their information has been dead on every single time, is that ddenys, who is running for the Volusia County Chair position now held by Ed Kelley, is part of this. This is a resolution that is being proposed for a vote on Tuesday, the 21st of April. Today is the 18th. Attached is a resolution relating to meetings of the council. The resolution implements the council's current public participation process, time limit, civility rules. Resolution prohibits vulgar or obscene language. Let's start with this resolution prohibits vulgar or obscene language. This council has no authority, per the Supreme Court, to decide what is vulgar or obscene. Cohen versus California, 1971, where in part of the opinion for the majority, one of the statements was that one man's vulgarity is another man's lyric. Fighting words. Fighting words this is a very limited description per the Supreme Court, that fighting words means that you are eliciting someone to commit a criminal act. Now they're saying causing or encouraging disruptions during the meeting and the display of a sign, except during a public participant's presentation. No, they want to cut out having a sign, bringing a sign into the council chambers. You might remember this from another video that I did with Brandy White. This is why this resolution is being put forth. This was Brandy's sign. There's nothing on this sign that would be considered fighting words. There's nothing on this sign that even the Supreme Court could consider vulgar or obscene. The sign, Brandy's 4'11". You can see how big this sign is. She had this with her, and Ed Kelley, you can go and watch the video where at the end the council talks about this. Ed Kelley flat out said he didn't want to look at it. He simply didn't want to look at it. Let's take a look here real quick and look at who. So Michael Dyer, the Interim County Attorney, and for some reason, the Chief Financial Officer are the ones that it looks like gave the division approval. But we're going to skip down real quick to this interoffice memorandum. At the request of a council member. They don't name that council member. Why would a council member want to be anonymous? They were voted on to represent the people. Well, we know who these council members are. We know that it's come from very, very good sources, that it's Ed Kelley and Deb Demings. Again, I cannot prove this, and anybody who watches my videos knows I typically will not put anything up without hardcore evidence. But we do know the evidence is there that Ed Kelley had Brandy White removed from council chambers by a deputy for nothing more than sitting there with a sign. She wasn't holding it up. She wasn't waving it in anybody's face. By her own account, there were less than 10 people in the entire chambers, and they were all spread out. She wasn't blocking anybody's field of view. And by his own statement, Ed Kelley said that he didn't want to see it. That was the only reason. So they go in here and they provide, I love part of their legal background that they use, Texas v. Johnson. Well, I would recommend anyone out there to go and look up Texas v. Johnson, because they're saying the U.S. Supreme Court has defined fighting words to include a direct personal insult, which is a lie, or an invitation to exchange fisticuffs, Texas v. Johnson. Well, in Texas v. Johnson, Johnson burned the flag. And he was found guilty by the local courts in Dallas. It went up to the Fifth Circuit Court, and they upheld that verdict until it went to the Supreme Court, where it was overturned in Johnson's favor. That by him burning the flag was expressive speech. So they're lying to you, people. This is your government lying to you. Texas v. Johnson, really? That's case law that you're going to present? We can, actually, to be quite honest, if we want to talk about the word or the term fighting words, the fighting words doctrine, that came along under a case called Czaplinski. And Czaplinski was overturned. So the Czaplinski decision was in 1942. And it was because this guy who was protesting, he was arrested, and he made comments to the arresting officer that he was a damn racketeer and a damn fascist. And the Czaplinski, that case was upheld until it was overturned by Cohen versus California in 1971. And you can read right here yourself. I don't have to say what it was that Cohen, his jacket said. And the Supreme Court held that, yeah, that is free speech. It was later overturned in Gooding v. Wilson, Lewis versus City of New Orleans, RAV, which, by the way, in this document, they cite RAV versus City of St. Paul, and Snyder versus Phelps. Now, Snyder versus Phelps, when you think about this case, this is the Westboro Baptist Church, where they're out there and they are just, saying absolutely horrific things at the funerals of our veterans coming back in body bags from overseas. And it was still held up as a First Amendment right, that this was a right under the First Amendment. We certainly cannot let this band of tyrants, led by County Chair Ed Kelley, believe that they have power above and beyond the Supreme Court of the United States of America. Every case that is listed in here by this interim city attorney, I don't know who this guy is. I don't know whether he just graduated law school. It just has no idea what he's doing. But every case in here that he cites, if you go and you do the research, you will find that either those cases were overturned by case law from the Supreme Court, or they were overturned by case law within the state. This is how they lie to you. If we look at Jones versus Hyman, the part of this case that was overturned by the 11th Circuit Court was the punitive damages that were going to have to be paid by the mayor was overturned. So they're lying to you. And the problem is that people, number one, they don't see this sort of stuff when it's put out on the agenda. And secondly, they don't go and look up the case law. They don't go and look up the case law. So decorum. The county chair shall preserve order and decorum at all county council meetings as follows. And they're giving the county chair the complete and utter authority to decide what is inappropriate, what is uncivil, what lacks honor or dignity. Well, you know what? They don't get to decide. And the Supreme Court has already limited and defined fighting words. Now, a threat, yeah, I think you can pretty much figure that one out pretty easily. Profane and obscene language, they don't get to define that. The Supreme Court has already said they can't define it. So Ed Kelley certainly cannot define it. It is not up to him or his judgment. Unauthorized remarks from the audience, outburst, yelling, or similar demonstrations are prohibited, not according to the Florida Constitution. So let's take a look at the Florida Constitution. Number 1, Article 1, Section 1. All political power is inherent in the people. Let me tell you something. This is Ed Kelley trying to take your power from you. This is Ed Kelley deciding he is better than you are, that he can make decisions you're not capable of making. You're not smart enough. Ed Kelley is smarter than you. This is Ed Kelley deciding in complete defiance of Article 1, Section 1, that he is a god and you are nothing more than a mere peasant. Section 4, freedom of speech and of press. Every person may speak, write, or publish sentiments on all subjects, but shall be responsible for the abuse of that right. And what they're talking about when they say abuse of that right is if you make defamatory statements that are untrue, if you commit libel or slander. That's not an opinion. An opinion is just that. It's an opinion. You're allowed to have your opinion. But if you say something is an absolute fact and that is proven to be false, then yes, that is an abuse of that right. Right of the people to assemble. And I love this. This is what he's trying to take away from you. The people shall have the right peaceably to assemble, to instruct their representatives, and to petition for redress of grievance. This man, Ed Kelley, is trying to take that right away from you. This is a right that was given to you inherently by your birth. This is a right that our founders said came from the Creator. And this man thinks that he is greater than the Creator. That he has the power and the authority to take away what God gave you. Are we going to let this stand? We cannot afford to let this stand. No person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. Well, by him simply removing you from a meeting because he doesn't like what you have to say, there's no due process. That's just him making a decision on his own. This is in our Florida Constitution. We don't even need to look to the First Amendment. We don't need to look to the federal government. What we need to look at are the rights that were enumerated and expressed in our own Constitution. You can go and find this. It's agenda item number 8. And you can go and find it on the Volusia County Council's website and go into the agendas and look for the agenda for the meeting that will happen on Tuesday the 21st. and read through this. And I really hope that you will take the time to look up what has the Supreme Court said about fighting words. Can this board take away your right? Do they even have the power and authority to take away your right to express your opinion, to say what you want to say, to direct these people? Now, really briefly, and I'm going to go into this in much more depth in another video, but I just want you to see here very quickly. This is who will be the one enforcing Ed Kelley's decree. King Kelley from on high is Deputy Jeff Hoffman. Now, why do I say that? Because Deputy Jeff Hoffman, he is the one who removed Brandy White from the meeting because of her sign, unlawfully. Now, I'm starting at the bottom, the very bottom of his IA history that I pulled. This is the history of complaints against him. They start in 1993. In 1993. And this goes on and on and on and on. And we're going to go through this one page at a time. We're going to take a look at this. How many times he has been reprimanded. Over and over again, we see this one. Using judgment, knowledge of rules, following rules. This deputy does not know how to follow the rules. Inattention to duties, loafing, sleeping. I mean, it goes on and on and on, this guy's history. The latest one was 2016. Letter of reprimand in 2016. And we're going to go through this page by page in another video. From 1993 to 2016. I would think that most people would call that a negligent retention. One of the council members that sits up on that council is the former sheriff, who in these pages signed off on these reprimands. Yet he lets this deputy that should have been fired decades ago unlawfully remove Brandy White for this sign. And now they want to, in their minds, create a law that says you can't have a sign because King Kelley doesn't like them. And again, from everything that I have been told, and I will keep digging and try and find some proof on this, that, see if I can find something in writing, that the current candidate that's up there on that council right now, the current candidate running for the county chair, backs this 100%. That you can't have your sign because they don't want to see it. Now, the only thing that is going to put a stop to this is you sending emails to this council. I will list the email addresses for every member of this council in the description box below. And it is of utmost importance that you send these people emails, call them, let them know that you do not approve of them acting like royalty, that we don't live in a monarchy, that you don't approve of King Kelley believing that he has so much authority, he can take away what the Creator gave. Thank you. Please like, share, and subscribe. Please get this video in front of as many eyes as possible. We need as many people as possible emailing before Tuesday.